Here's a video of somebody who had pain for 30 years, follows a classic pattern of getting the back manipulated and temporarily fixed short term. The same problem would come back, and this pattern went on for 30 years. So if you're interested in how this person overcame that length of time persistent pain and is now pretty much pain free of that pain, watch the video. Thanks for agreeing to have a chat with us, Shaun. Just answer a few questions. What's interesting about your situation is that for like many people, when they get pain, they go and see the local physio, don't they? They go see the physio, and the physio will do the bits and pieces and generally settle that pattern down. And I was the physio for you, really, over the years, wasn't I?
Yeah. Probably this is probably the third year, really. I've sort of been coming to you on and off, and leaving it a couple more months, and then it was just like that, wasn't it, sort of thing?
Yeah.
So maybe in a year I'd like to see you 2 or 3 times. You'd sort of click me back into place, and then off I would go, fixed.
Yeah, and it's a dynamic that happens all over the place, all over the world, like temporary fixes, and it does help because there's a physical element, but there would always be a pattern that would come back. What was your pattern? How long had you had that pattern, would you say, in your situation?
Well, for me, it's I sustained an injury when I fell off a friend's motorbike doing motocross racing. And that was when I was about 20 year old, something like that. So basically, this has been an ongoing issue with back pain for roughly 30 years, something like that. On and off. Sometimes it'd be good. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to fasten my boots. I'm a builder by trade. So yeah, I mean, I'd suffer every day with it, to be fair.
And it would only be certain times that you'd ever seek treatment. It would have to be a certain threshold that you then thought, right, I'll go and get physio.
Yeah. I mean, I would sort of let it go to the extremes, really. I mean, I'm normally quite busy with work as a builder, so I'm always busy. But it would get to a stage where it was too much, and I'd have to come and make an appointment to see you, and then go through things that we did to try and resolve it. But it would never fix the problem. It would only sort of get me by for maybe a month or something like that, and then the problem would start showing its head again.
And do you recall when I might have started to mention something that was slightly different from the perspective I might have taken in the past, or one that you've considered in the past?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with me, it was sort of, right, I've got this injury, something's not aligning in my back. Go to see Drew. Drew will click me back into place, and then off I trot. I'm all fixed until the next time something triggers it or causes the pain. And sort of that's how it was working with me until this year, when we tried sort of different approach to things. And yeah, from then it just seemed to get better. Slowly, but yeah, definitely get better.
And did you at some point start to change the way you thought about pain as being injury compared to pain being linked to some of the other things you might not have considered in the past?
Definitely, yeah. To be honest with you, Drew, I mean, I was coming to see you quite regular for a few months, and I still thought there was something mechanically wrong with my back. I was trying to listen to what you were saying and go down those paths with you, but sort of deep down inside, I still actually thought there was something mechanically wrong with my back, and this is why I was having the issues. But it was just sort of perseverance with it, which, I mean, the outcome I've got now is just through just cracking on with it and following that path, I suppose, or that journey.
Yeah, Charlotte asked a question. She said she wanted to know if there was a gradual progression, which I suppose there was, or was there a turning point where something clicked, and what helped the most?
Yes, it was gradual. Through coming to see you, the pain wasn't as bad. I would still get the aches and the niggles and things like that, but I could manage them more. And there definitely was a turning point, yeah, definitely. And it wasn't that long ago. Everything changed. Everything changed. And now I'm very, very, in fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I did have any back pain.
What you started to notice, I remember you saying this to me, that it was less in terms of the physical movements you were doing, because you did tell that situation about the chair you sat in your house, the comfy chair.
Yeah. I used to, well, I still do. I read on a morning before I go to work and sit in a nice, comfortable chair. And as soon as I sort of sit in it, or I did sit in it, I used to get this twinge in the back and a bit of a flare up. And it'd be, like trying to pull myself out the chair when I'd finished reading like an old man. And it was weird. And it's something that you said to me was like, it's not the chair, it's not the seat of your van, it's none of that. It's you. And that was quite hard. I mean, I used to move the pillows around on the chair and puff the chair up and try and support my back and all these things, and it just, nothing helped.
And it's that association with a physical belief there's a physical problem alone, or primary problem, which is totally understandable when it occurred at the time of physical trauma. But the pathway becomes almost hijacked. If that physical trauma was stressful and worrying and you lost work from it or whatever, then by definition there's stressful cues attached to that pathway.
Yes, definitely.
And so subliminally, subconsciously, unconsciously, over time, that pathway doesn't have to be triggered by movement or a chair or getting in the van or first thing in the morning alone. It's what emotions are present with those cues. But because the emotional state we have is pretty much invisible to us because we're the one in it, we believe it's the chair.
Yeah.
We'll think it's the movement.
Yes.
We'll think it's the time of day. Then that's down to our grandparents or our parents. It's easy to be kind of, for the illusion to be believable, isn't it?
Definitely. And I've had to change a lot of the ways I think to combat this back pain, this issue that I did have, or I thought I had. I mean, I do yoga and I'm a builder and I go to the gym regular and all that type of thing. I keep myself fit. And you said something to me once about training my back. There's a certain exercise at the gym that I wouldn't train because you thought it would affect your back. Now I did, yeah, it was quite a lot. And you actually said to me, go to the gym and as if you were going to do a certain exercise that you didn't like, don't put any weight on it, try it out, or even just walk away from it. And then the next day, go back and try and lift the bar or lift a little bit of weight and see how you feel, but not do a lot. And it's sort of building a pathway within your mind to say that these things are not going to hurt you or harm you. And I could do them, and it was bizarre. I got no aches or pains from training my back, but for years and years and years, I wouldn't do certain exercises because I thought it would trigger it or the inflammation would rise its ugly head. So yeah, it was a strange time.
How do you approach it if it appears?
Well, there was a time where if I could feel the niggle starting, I would sort of just calm my mind the way I thought about things. Basically just say, instead of it being a pain that I was getting, I would just say it's just a little bit stiff, or there's nothing to worry about. It's just the time of the day, or something like that, which you've just got to learn to control the thought process behind it, I think, and blank it out to a certain degree, and tell yourself that, well, in my case anyway, that there isn't anything wrong. And it took a while for me to do that, and to learn that and understand the process of that. But once you do, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, I've suffered for 30 years with this, and through sort of coming to see you and learning different things, it's been quite emotional in a way as well. I mean, I don't get pain at all now in that part of my back. I don't go to point at the pain area anymore, or I don't even think about it. I can go and sit in that chair, that comfy chair now, and get up like a normal person, no pain. So it's quite remarkable, to be honest with you. Very remarkable.
Can I just ask, Shaun, if I have some other questions, but just if anybody in the Zoom call, does anybody want to ask a question? I'm just going to check the chat screen. You can either unmute and ask if you want to. Oh, Mary's just put in the chat how impressed she is. I'll be as shocked as Shaun was when it happens for me. There's a shift, Shaun, isn't there? There's a shift. There's a moment where what you expect to happen doesn't happen. You can expect the pain, and actually it doesn't come.
It's unlocking it. I mean, as you said to me before, and well, on quite a few occasions, I'm a fixer. So I was looking to, if I had the pain, I was looking to fix it. And there must be something that I'm doing to cause that pain at that particular time, when really I should have just blanked it out. I mean, there is triggers which would set it off. If I was, there's on a morning, I would get up, sit at the dinner table, have my breakfast, and I'd be constantly looking at the clock. And as soon as it was 7:30, 7:45, I would get a pain in the back, the lower left-hand side. And I don't know why I would get it, until I spoke with you, and you said you could be anxious about going to work, even though you've done a certain job certain way millions of times. It was just an anxious feeling that I would get, which would trigger the back pain, or the so-called back pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was learning to sort of deal with that as well, and shut them thoughts down.
It's like a two-way feed, isn't it? So the movements that you were associated to being painful were painful or are painful, and then you also start to notice a sense of dread that might come before some event or one another, and that would trigger it too. So you almost have this threshold that's fed by one obvious but overrated, over amplified cue of physical things, and one that's almost invisible that you start to see and think, hang on a sec,
it's
not actually doing out, and my pains come on.
Yes, that's right.
And if pain is not influenced by movement, it confuses you. Think, well, why is it better some days, and why is it worse when I'm actually busy and active? Surely I'm moving the joints more. So when you follow the logic, which is quite hard when in an emotional state, it really doesn't stack up as a structural thing on its own. It just doesn't stack up, does it?
No, definitely not. I mean, when you did the examination of my back, you said that one side was all tight, and it was sort of in the fight or flight mode. So I sort of took that on board. I mean, if one side of your body is all sort of ready for action all the time, then it's going to put stresses and strains on that side of the body. So what I did was try to think about things a lot more, relax my mind a lot more, my thoughts, and basically tell myself that there was no mechanical issue with my back. And from that, you know, everything's been fine so far.
Just got a question on the chat, Shaun. Sorry, I don't know the lady's name. Just Zoom user, I can wave and see you. It says, how did you actually stop the anxious feelings? Did you simply tell yourself it's not real?
Simple answer to that is yes. Yeah. I just calmed my thoughts down, and kept basically reassuring myself that there wasn't an issue. It was all in my mind. And as you well know, the mind's a very strong tool. And if you can try and master that, a lot of your problems will go away.
That embodied reaction of the mind that, you know, it connects us to our little toe. If someone touched a hair on your leg, you'd feel it. If someone touched a hair on the back of your hand or the back of your neck, you'd feel it. So it's connected to all of us all the time, isn't it? And
Yeah.
so that I always think, well, my little toe, it's my brain. My little finger, it's my brain. My tummy, it's my brain. It's all one. It is all one, isn't it? And the connections fire so fast between one to the other, hundreds of miles an hour, especially when we're in the fearful state or frustrated, that we almost get the reaction before we become conscious of the thought that's driven it. Another question, Shaun. What did you do to, and this might come on to what you and I meet up to do. I'd like to look at your routine, you know, just a rough routine, but just a question saying thanks. And what did you do to calm and relax?
Well, this year, probably a little bit before I started to come to see you, this year, I started to do a more intensive yoga on a morning. I try to, at some point during the day, to do some breathing techniques, different breathing techniques. And normally before I go to bed, I'll try and do some sort of meditation just to sort of clear my head of the day's thoughts and what's going on in the days. And just basically empty my head of all thoughts and things. Physically wise, I don't do anything different. I mean, I regularly train at a local gym, exercise, walks, things like that. Cold dipping, which is a good thing. Cold plunging, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later. So yeah.
Yeah, and when you now go to the gym or you go for walks, I suppose you're just doing it without fear now. You're automatically doing it without fear, without frustration, and just getting the benefits of a behavior that physiologically kind of metabolizes our day-to-day stresses, going for a walk, going to the gym, and getting the true benefit out of it rather than going there and being frustrated.
It's not just the gym aspect of it for me with certain exercises for training your back, for instance. With me being a builder, I would carry a lot of weight, or I would carry things in a certain way that wouldn't put stress onto my injured back area, I suppose. And all that's changed now. I just pick things up and lift them, and there's no thought to. And even bending, something so simple as bending, I would never bend down. I'd never bend over to pick something up. I would always go onto my knees to get anything off the floor. That's all stopped now. There's none of that. I actually bend. There's no pain. The movement feels good. It's massive improvements.
And I suppose it's effortless. It's moving without having to give any
thought.
warning.
Yeah, you can move without actually thinking about it now. Whereas before, I would, it would be embedded in my mind, in my brain, to go down onto one knee if there's something on the floor, or carry something in a certain way. So all of that stopped. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
How do you explain to your friends and family, you know, Shaun with the bad back, the builder's back, he'd moan and groan, and as we all do with a pattern of pain, people know about it around us, don't they? Have you surprised some people with your improvement then?
I was still moan and groan. There's no getting out of that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people noticed. I actually walk a little bit taller as well. My shoulders are a little bit more further back, and yeah, yeah, it's quite a lot of people notice things, and you actually feel happier as well, knowing that there isn't a mechanical problem there. Um, so yeah, it's a good learning process, which I'd recommend to anyone.
If you were thinking about a piece of advice to give somebody who's maybe hasn't seen a change yet, or is in that position where they may be fearing movement or frustrated that they can't do, what would you say? What would you say to them?
It's a process that you've just got to continue with. Just crack on with it and keep telling yourself, keep reassuring yourself that, you know, there's not an issue there. And you'll things will just fall into place, things will just click one day, and then you'll be a lot happier, like I am. I mean, this is an ongoing thing that I've had for 30 years. 30 years of this, and it's remarkable. Remarkable. Changed man I am now.
The the routine you've got, it's interesting about how you say about I haven't really done much else physical. I mean, that's almost like that's the easiest part of it. That's the easiest part of you now. You don't worry what you lift, you don't think about what you're lifting, you do what you need to do at the gym, and there's no, I don't know if people watching can sense there's no what's called fear avoidance. So I'm not going to do that because it's going to hurt. That seems to have stopped, and that takes loads of energy to consciously install. First of all, mind me back because this happened, mind me back because that happened. Repeating that for a few months till it's embedded, and basically that's it. It's in years. To then unwire that, people sometimes get complicated thinking I have to fix a problem, but that's just the mindset of the person's route into it.
Yeah, I mean that was what was happening with me. I needed to know what was setting these things off, and you said to me, just roll with it, just let it be. Don't try to fix it. Don't look in depth at it. And I stopped, and that was probably one of the best things that you said to me. Don't try and fix it, and it just came naturally after that.
A fix it mode is often where we live with our work. You're a builder and problem solve. I'm a physio, and Angela's on the call. I know Angela organised people houses. Mary, I can't remember what you did, but I know Mary had a really caring family role and always looked after people. So it's almost this intensity on focused outside of yourself to keep on getting a validation or approval or to sort stuff. And sometimes we just forget to look inside and think, hang on a sec, I need to reset myself and get good at that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the fix it mode, then it's constantly on your mind. It's constantly on the mind that you have the issue. And that's not the best place to be. You need to be clear of that, have a clear mindset, and just keep, like I say, just keep reassuring yourself that there's nothing mechanically wrong, and you just need to put it to bed. Put it to bed and move on.
Yeah, Mary's put, don't try to fix it. There is nothing to fix. It's a great line.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it took me a long time to get to that point, because I used to come to see you and you'd click me back into place, and then I'd do another 6 months of work and then come back to see you and do the same thing again. And you've just got to sort of stop that and try something different and a different path, a different mindset. And like I say, a reset is the best form for me. Just a complete reset.
you might think retrospectively now, if you'd already started to go to yoga before you came to see me, you're already almost looking at things slightly differently in your life, whatever that was, and maybe I was able to explain it in a way that I didn't understand previously. And it's always harder for historical patients for me to, I don't know, pop up with these ideas that sound a bit weird. It's easy to do it with somebody new, or easier. But when you've been the one that clicks someone back, you almost become part of the problem, or just a temporary fix. So it was really interesting for me to see you be curious and skeptical and say, yeah, but what about this bit, Drew? There must be,
Yeah.
there must be, and I'm the one that told you there's something there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I actually even said to you this year, do what you would normally do and click me back into place. And even though I sort of left the practice feeling a little bit better, I wasn't fixed that time. So that then was probably a turning point as well, where, you know, in my mind, something had to change differently. And it was just basically my mind that needed to be changed, not my body.
And sometimes, though, I think when the treatments fail, it can make us feel a bit desperate. But sometimes you've got to realize that actually the fix is an internal one, isn't it? It's all right having someone tell people, actually the fix is internal.
When I was coming to you, I was coming to be fixed. So I would leave thinking that I was fixed, even though I probably wasn't. Well, even though I definitely wasn't. But in my mind, I was fixed. I was all realigned and everything. So I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but it certainly makes sense to me.
Yeah, it is kind of a classic. I've been put back in place, or my back's been freed up, or one leg short on the other, and manipulate my sacroiliac joint. You know, it's language I've used in the past, and less. I don't use it now, but it's cultural within the manual therapy field, really, isn't it? And I don't think. I think it's something that's shifting over time, and this is an example of how you can. Maybe it's bad for business, but actually it's better for the patient to get some agency and recover themselves, help themselves. I've got an eye on time, Shaun, so I'm just going to ask you a little bit about your. We mentioned your yoga. We mentioned you don't really pay much attention to the gym other than for general fitness. You don't worry too much about what you do at work, albeit it's a physical job, and you take your normal considerations you would. So it's almost like life's got a little bit easier from that perspective. But you take deliberate action to almost empty your mind at the end of the day, or whatever good, bad, or ugly's happened, and you might do some breathing techniques or some meditation. And you touched on this about this cold exposure. Now, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but you really benefited from cold exposure, haven't you? And just to tell you what I'm watching, Shaun and I meet at a lake at 6 o'clock on a Friday morning to go into a lake. It's icy cold, and we just do 5 minutes. But I'm not joking; it is crazy how good it is. And I've done it for the last year or so at my own house, and Shaun has. But we start to meet up. So, just tell me how you came to that point, and what do you think about that cold exposure treatment, I suppose?
Again, it was something that I started this year. I mean, I was, to be honest, I did it for cancer research, and it was, I think it was 31 days, every day for 31 days. You had to put yourself into a cold plunge, so like a barrel of cold water, basically. And it was hard. It was horrible. Didn't want to do it. Never wanted to do it. Didn't look forward to it. But it was again forcing your mind to switch off, get the job done, and get in there. And again, this all comes back to the back pain as well, the back issues. It's switching off from that pain and that part of your mind to actually just get on, get it done, clear your thoughts, and you feel 100 times better when you come out of it. It's great. It's great for all your joints, everything. And it just relaxes you as well, and it makes you sleep better on a night, believe it or not. So yeah, it has great benefits, and I do it every day. Cold plunge, cold shower, and then a dip in a lake on a Friday with a few friends.
Yes, it's really amazing. Just for those people that thinking about how does that relate to pain, and you touched on that, as you say, it helps you move through that moment. I think the word's called hormesis, and the hormesis is almost that moment your mind says don't do it, and you say no, I'm doing it. Now there isn't. That's not survival, and it's not rest and digest. It's a balance point where the adrenaline's going and has to be there because you're taking something on. But it's balanced by a sense of, yeah, I'm safe here. I really am safe. And you're moving through. So it's almost like a balancing act as you move through the water, into the water. Your brain is screaming, saying, don't. And part of you deep down is saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that is hormesis. Now, if you train that as a skill in an environment, you know, it is not going to kill you. It could be 15 seconds in the shower for someone at the end of a shower, and you start to train that skill for when you then have to address something that emotionally is challenging or physically is inherently scary, and you might have believed some bad things about it, but you want to counter that. You can start to use that skill of practicing the cold to apply it to these other areas, and that's its benefit.
Yeah, definitely. It's coming out of your comfort zone, isn't it? Basically, you're coming out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and it's developing a true resilience. It's not resilience through windmilling, pushing through, fighting, freezing. That's not actually resilience. That's survival. True resilience is moving through with non-reaction. The cold is on, and you breathe. You desperately want to gas, just breathe. Someone's just posted, lady in the group, yes, me too, I do it every morning, changed everything for me. Oh, good for you too. It's such a game changer if you want to consider it as something that is a shock. It is a little bit antagonistic, but you just make it 10 or 15 seconds to start with. It's another starting point. I knew it would be a good place to mention it because you get so much benefit of it, and we have a bit of a laugh on a Friday morning with 4 or 5 other people. I've taken 2 of my sons to meet Shaun, and in the lake, and both of them can't wait to go again. And then 20-year-old and 22.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks, Shaun. Thanks very much for your time. I'm just going to have a quick scan. I think I've asked all the questions I had noted down. If anybody else has a last comment or two, please feel free. Thanks for the boost in faith. Thanks, Angela. Hopefully these things are inspirational, because Shaun says the pathway's been there 30 years, and yes, has a physical origin, and yes, has been repeated with lots of physical cues and maybe reinforced over time by some of the language I've used and maybe some of the treatments I've done. But there's no point looking back and criticizing those behaviors, because they're the best we did with the information we have. And now Shaun's doing something different, so am I. He's feeling loads better, and so am I. We're all learning, aren't we? All right, Shaun. Thanks very much, everyone.
And I look forward. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you in the morning, Shaun. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care. I'll catch you in the morning, Shaun.
5 a.m. club.
Okay.
See you in the morning.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye now. Bye.